All the talk in the Yahoo acquires Tumblr deal has been about price, $1.1 billion in cash, has been about, well, did Yahoo overpay? Is this too expensive? The money that the founder of Yahoo, 26-year-old and used to be 20, is going to take home from this. I think the price is really, really important, but kind of backwards. What's really interesting, what's important, is that in the last round of venture capital, Tumblr was valued at about $800 million. So we're looking at a step up from $800 million to $1.1 million in the last round, equivalent to when a company goes public. This is not the kind of step up that venture capitalists are looking for when they look for an exit, not in a company which has the profile that a Tumblr does. So the question I think to ask about Tumblr is not so much did Yahoo overpay, but why was Tumblr so cheap? Because I think this tells you stuff about the internet sector as a whole and the transitions that are going on and the difficulty that some companies are having. The reason that Tumblr was so cheap is because everybody in the sector is having trouble figuring out how you make very much money off of the dominant platform for ads going forward, which is mobile. Google knew how to do it when everybody was on the desktop, but the problem with mobile ads is that they have to be smaller, they can't charge as much. So in some cases, Google, for example, you've got a question of, well, is Google's mobile business cannibalizing its desktop business? Margins are certainly down, even if this is actually incremental growth going forward, but margins on these ads are lower. And the question for Tumblr, which really doesn't have much in the way of ads at all, is A, how you make ads in a mobile world that are really going to pay you much of a multiple, and B, and this was the one part of the Tumblr deal that did get some attention on Wall Street, is how do you go from a situation where this has been a relatively ad-free, there are ads on Tumblr, relatively ad-free site, to one where there are lots of ads? I mean, does this alienate the Tumblr user? And these are all important things, because one of the things that we've, I think, learned about this space is that there's not a whole lot of loyalty, that people go to the thing that's newest, whether it's Instagram or the way that Twitter now seems to be for teens, taking away users from Facebook, because Facebook is, well, too old, because there are a lot of 30-year-olds working on, using Facebook. So if you're 15, you don't want to do it because it's not cool hanging out with those grown-ups. There's not a whole lot of loyalty here. It's really one product after another. So the idea that maybe Tumblr, which works really, really well, it's a very cool place to go because there's just all kinds of stuff all over the place. It's like the internet gone wild. Whether this is an environment that you can actually A, sell ads in, and B, whether people are going to be driven away by the fact there are ads and driven to the next platform, whatever it may be. So these are important things, not just for Tumblr, but for the next company that comes down the road and tries to go public or gets bought out. There are issues for companies like Google that are extant, because there's the question of, well, is this an advertising space, and what kind of multiples can you look for ads on it? How do you grow mobile ads? All these things are really important. No one's really answered the question, and I think that's why Tumblr was so cheap. This is Jim Jubak for Jubak Asset Management.